Meow.
Max.
Bring lunch. We've got a killer to find.
Hello YouTubers and random Doctor Who fans. Today I bring before you a review. I haven't reviewed action figures in quite a while, so I just thought that I'd take a look at these, seeing as they don't really get any spotlight whatsoever. And I thought it was kind of important because they are kind of a nice piece of Doctor Who history which very overlooked. They sell incredibly cheap on eBay, which is pretty good for people who collect them like me. So these are the die-cast figures which were released in 2006-2007 from Sci-Fi Collector. Now, as far as information goes on this, I can't really bring an awful lot to you. They were obviously exclusive to Sci-Fi Collector, but they were distributed throughout the country, which was pretty cool. I don't really know which company actually manufactured them because they're not character options. Some people speculated that they were Corgi, but then again, on the packaging there was no official company logos or anything. It was just Sci-Fi Collector. Very bizarre. So I'm guessing that Sci-Fi Collector sculpted and bought out a factory, well, hired out like a factory in China to produce them. I don't really know how toys are made, like in the ins and outs of it, but that's my theory anyway, because there is no other side company credited. The same for the Torchwood figures. I think that those were exclusive just to Sci-Fi Collector and no other toy manufacturer was really involved. It's very bizarre. If anybody knows more about the Sci-Fi Collector figures, please let me know. I'm very interested to know. Drop a comment down below. If you have any links to any official sources, then please, that would be very helpful. Let's take a look at these guys. So obviously we have the Metaltron on the right and Dalek Sec on the left. Bit of a weird choice to release the Metaltron instead of just a normal bronze Dalek, but I'm welcome to it. So let's have a look at Dalek Sec first. As you can tell right off the bat, this was way better than the sculpts which character options used back in the day. The very disproportionate Dalek sculpts, even they admitted that, and they later rectified it with the Crucible Dalek. This is a very good stand-in for people who can't get the official Dalek Sec retool, which was exclusive to America. That is so stupid, character. Why did you do that? Screwing the UK fans over once again. You're very good at doing that. Thanks, guys. So this is a very good placeholder for that. Only things that aren't so good are the fact that the weapons are quite oversized still. Character did a good job in rectifying that in later copies. But it does look very good. The detail is pretty incredible, especially for the time. Slats aren't very sharp. I don't think the detail is incredibly good on those, but never mind. They didn't paint the rivets silver, which is a bit of a shame, but that's an easy fix. Just get yourself some silver paint and you can fix it. Venting looks pretty cool. I actually prefer that to the character options one. It looks a lot more streamlined. Now here's something which, an inaccuracy. The light on the figure was originally like a really dark blue, so you couldn't really see the light, so I had to repaint that myself just to set it off more on display. And one thing I really like about these figures, which characters don't have, is the fact that you can put the eye stalk all the way down, just so it looks like it's dormant, just so it looks like it's dead, which it does look very nice. And if you're doing animations, then it's useful for Daleks to look down on things. The eye stalks don't go far down at all on the character options ones, so that is a big bonus for these. The only articulation is the head and the eye stalk moving up and down, which is fine. Not too bothered about the plunger, and the gun not moving doesn't bother me. So you got the detail of the ident underneath the eye, which is printed on quite nicely. Continue to be present throughout the character options figures. However, in the main series they dropped them, which was, it really frustrated me did that, because I really enjoyed the fact that Daleks had different name tags so they could identify each other, and then they dropped it for whatever reason. Such a shame. But then again, the Daleks have just been screwed over in Doctor Who in general. Nowadays anyway. Ever since the best Dalek designs were dropped in 2010, and then they were brought back just for a couple of seconds in Asylum of the Daleks, but that's a topic for another video. So yeah, we pan down to the skirt section. The details aren't very crisp, like the rings around the sensor globes, but that will lead me on to an interesting point in the Metaltron Dalek, which I'll look over, but it looks quite nice. I do prefer the proportions on this to the Crucible Dalek. I just think it looks a lot slimmer, it looks a lot more streamlined, looks nicer. Unfortunately, you don't get any detail on the base. It's literally just a black base, and they didn't bother to paint the rivets, which is a shame. Overall, I do really like this figure. Despite its inaccuracies and soft sculpt details, it's quite nice. So yeah, next we'll move on to the Metaltron Dalek. Now, detail-wise, it's exactly the same sculpt. Only noticeable differences, really, the fact that the vent section has been given a metallic grey finish, which I do prefer to the character options one. I think that looks really cool. So you have like the rivets painted on this one. For whatever reason they didn't on the Dalek Sec. The details are a lot crisper, and like I said, the rivets on the slat section have been painted silver. And obviously, to distinguish this from the other bronze Daleks, it has the gold band to resemble the Metaltron version. They dropped this in the show after that one episode, which was a shame, because it did look very nice. But I guess it gives like a uniqueness to the Metaltron Dalek in general. So we'll pan down to the best feature of this diecast. The fact that, hooray, we actually have the rings painted around the hemispheres. That is very good. It just sets it off so much more on display than the character options release. It just looks so much nicer. The base has been given metallic grey under paint, and then dry brush silver on top to make it look a lot more, to make it look weathered and like it's been used. The rivets have just been painted on, they're not sculpted, but it works well. And obviously these Daleks are on 3 wheels. So let's compare this to the character options version. As far as sharpness and as far as detail goes, the sculpt, I'd have to say that the character options one is better, because the features are a lot more prominent and don't like have a really thick coat of paint on them to hide the details. But I do prefer the neck section. I think the venting looks a lot better. On the diecast, it just looks a lot more War Machine-like, looks less plastic and looks cooler. It's not until I did this comparison how I realised how different the two sculpts are, but they are both very nice. And I'd say the fact that this is a Metaltron justifies you picking it up a lot more than if it was just a standard bronze drone, because obviously it's got that gold band and it's a different Dalek in general. And like I said, the character options release doesn't feature the black rings around the hemispheres, whereas the diecast does, and that's a definite plus. The original Dalek bases on the character model were a dark blue for whatever reason. I repainted mine black just to look a lot nicer, but the diecast did a great job on doing it metallic grey instead of that awful blue which character used. So looking at the overall dimensions, you can see the difference. The slats are thicker on the diecast version. The skirt dimensions are slightly different. But yeah, I think they both work very well. And also, one major plus for this diecast is you don't get that horrible seam line there. Bear in mind, I have customised mine by weathering it slightly, so the original wasn't weathered. So yeah, the weapons are different, obviously. With this, you wouldn't get manufacturing errors like the bent sucker arm, because the way they were packaged was much better, much more protective of the diecast. The thicker, but I mean, it's not as good, but it doesn't really bother me an awful lot. I do think that this one is too thin, but I do think this is too thick. A compromise between the two would have been nice. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. And I do prefer the eye stalk on this version. I think the details match the on-screen counterpart a lot better. I think the proportions are a lot better. Then again, this is me judging off of memory and not actually looking at reference pictures. So anyway, thanks for watching this video, guys. If you haven't picked these up already, then please do, because they are very cool. They do go very cheap on eBay. They go cheaper than the character options versions, bizarrely enough, from what I can remember anyway. Definitely worth adding to your collection, especially if you don't have an accurate Dalek Sec. This is a great addition. So yeah, hope you enjoyed looking back in time with me, guys. Maybe I'll do some more retrospective reviews on bizarre action figures, ones that people don't really talk about and don't give the spotlight enough to. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.